Hello, and welcome back to the Without the Bank podcast, where you and I are going to talk about all things IBC, the business of banking, and how to correctly utilize money. All right, let's get started. There has been a downturn in the market, and I am hearing about it. I am not experiencing it because of the infinite banking concept, right? But I sure am hearing a lot about it from clients who are losing money. I actually went to my orthodontist the other day to have an update on the braces. And he said, "Mary Jo, I just lost a ton of money." And I said, "Well, if you're going to put it in the market, that's the name of the game, my friend. So if you want some security, why are you not putting it into whole life insurance? Why are we putting it in the market?" And so there is this huge mindset and all this noise that says this is where we need to be putting our money. If we're not putting it in the market, what are people going to think of me? That is the only thing I know. It's too much work to learn anything else. Is it? You guys, I have this tiny little book, Life Without the Bank. It's 99 pages, I think, 98 pages. It's tiny. It explains everything about what we've been taught that's not true. And it does it in a very, very easy manner. So guess what? We can understand it. We don't have to think that we need to understand big words and all this other stuff that goes along with traditional finance, right? And so can we make that change? Because if we don't make the change, we're going to end up where everybody else is? Is that what we want? I remember, let's go back to 08 and 09 when the market really crashed. My boss at the time was a couple years away from retirement. He was losing the amount of money he was losing a day. I think he was close to like 60,000 a day or something like that is what he was losing. He had to retire many years later. He didn't get to retire in 2 years. He had to postpone it. It did not come back in 5 years. It came back in about 10 to 13 years. And guess what? Those people just broke even. So he obviously had to stick more money there in order to retire, or he was just retiring on less. Now, I did see that he ended up selling his business. Rather than handing it off to the kids, he sold his business. Why? I don't know. I am only led to believe because he had to, because his kids were working for him and on the path to take over that business. So we probably had to sell it, and then the new company can employ them because we needed the money for retirement. Maybe it was too good of a deal. I don't know. I've not asked him. I haven't ran into him. Will I when I run into him next? Yes, I will. Because I want to know, why are we selling a family business that's been in the business for 50 plus years? His dad's, or I think his dad or grandpa started it. So why are we selling a business that's been around for 50 plus years? Because the market's crashing and that's where our money is. And so if you have read Life Without the Bank, there are some key points in there. And the number one key point is, it is not about a rate of return. It is about an actual rate of return, okay? Or it's not about that. It is not about the average rate of return. It is about the actual rate of return. Those are two very, very different things. Now, this is what I find a little bit eye-opening. is that if I take numbers in my little fancy calculators that I have, and I can say, all right, you have $1 million to live on. And if we use an average rate of return of 5% every single year, that $1 million is going to last you X amount of years. But when I go to the actual rates of return and I go into my market calculator and I copy the actual rates of return and I plug those in and say, okay, if the market does this, which is, if it's done what it's done for the last 15, 20 years, how long will that money last? Far less. We run out of money very, very quickly. Why? Because that is the actual rate of return. We cannot bank on having an average return and hoping that that lasts us through inflation, through any downturns of the market. Again, if we look at the market calculators, we have never, in the history of the market, we have never gone more than 10 years without a correction. That is on the S&P 500 with dividends. Okay? If I look, there is never more than a 10-year stretch that does not have a downturn in the market the following year. And that's only happened twice in the history of the S&P 500 with dividends. If I go to the Dow and just the S&P and I look at those numbers, we actually have less than 10 years. And we have a cycle of ups, 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 ups. Now we have a big down. And that is what we are going to start to feel again. You've also heard me talk about uninterrupted compound interest and why that is so important. And I talk about it in the book and I use the word uninterrupted constantly. Because think about it. If you start with $1,000 today and the market crashes, just say you lose 50% of your money. You're down to $500. You do not need a 50% return to get back to where you were, because you're starting with 500 going back up to 1,000. You need more than that for a return. I forget what the exact number is. This is not, you are starting lower. So if you lose money, it doesn't just appear back when the market comes back, because we're starting at a lower amount, compounding. So many financial advisors and so much of the noise that we hear is all about, hey, your money's compounding, earn compound interest, earn compound interest. What about earning uninterrupted compound interest? That is key. And even on that note, not all life insurance is created equal. You guys, I have been talking about this for weeks because there is some guy, MPI or something, I don't know. I have been hearing about this dude for the last 2 weeks, and he sure makes his indexed universal life sound great. It is universal life. There are fees and charges. I talked to one of my clients yesterday, and they have a variable universal life policy. And she said, they want to 1035 the money over to a new policy. And she said, our cash value is going down every day that I look at it. Their cash value in their life insurance policy is falling with the market. That is not uncommon. In an indexed universal life policy, I just talked about this last week in my podcast. If you did not listen, please go do that. In an indexed universal life policy, that is reflective of the market. It is not directly tied to the market, but it is reflective of the market. So if the market makes a negative rate of return, you also go to zero, plus any expenses or charges. So you're going to go negative. If you have universal life Variable or indexed, this is going to affect your policy. This is not compound interest as we would think of compound interest. Everybody wants us to think that compound interest is the most amazing thing in the world, and it is if it is uninterrupted. That is the whole point of the infinite banking concept. There are many points, I should say, of the infinite banking concept. This is one of the key points. Not only do you get to be the banker and you get to be the one in charge, but you also have money earning uninterrupted compound interest. My oldest policy is 12 years old. That policy has never wavered with the market. Never. It grows all the time, every single day, every single year. It's not going to go backwards. Do we really want our money, our retirement dollars, and our kids' 529s for college? Do we really want that in a tool that can tank at any moment? And then we have to try to come back from that. And the only way to come back from that is to add more money or for somebody to manipulate the market. We have been manipulating the market for so long now that as soon as interest rates start to rise, it's in complete chaos. This is crazy. If this should give you all a taste of what is going on. And if we have money there and we are not managing it ourselves, do we want to continue to put money there? And the reason I say if you're not managing it yourself is because I have several clients that manage their own money and they are actually making a really good rate of return because they are investing it and they're paying attention to it. They're not just handing it over to somebody. That is not for everybody. I maybe have a handful of those guys. I don't have a whole lot of them. So pay attention to what is happening in those 401ks. You may have to be the black sheep of the finances. You may have to be the black sheep of investing and say, you know what, Mr. Boss, I am sorry, but I am not contributing to this 401k. Can you please just give me that 401k in the form of a bonus? I would much rather take that money in the form of a bonus because then I can put it where I want to put it. If you are a top executive, you can do an executive bonus plan with your employee. If you are the employee, you can ask to have an executive bonus plan. If you are the business owner, why are you offering up to your employees a 401k? You don't have to. Sure, you can if they really are set on it. But if you understand infinite banking, teach them infinite banking, give them a bonus, encourage them to put it into a whole life policy. It is exactly what I do with my employees. At the end of the day, they can do whatever they want with it. But when we have a market downturn, what's going to happen? Oh, hang in there, you'll be okay. Yeah. Recently, I had a young person say to me, oh my gosh, Mary Jo, I'm losing money. I said, yeah, I told you not to have your money in the market, right? You've read the book. You understand what I'm doing here. Why do you still have your money in the market? Well, the financial advisor talked me into keeping it there. I said, yeah, because you should just hang in there because it'll all come back. Yeah, that's exactly what he said. Of course it's what he said. That's their ammo. Right? Just hang in there. You're young. You got time. The market crashes every 10 years or better if you're not in the S&P 500 with dividends. So you are having a crash every 6 to 7 years, but you're supposed to hang in there so you barely get back to where you were and then you lose again? How is that working? You cannot, if you want to start a business, you cannot take that money and use it to create more income and cash flow. It's tied up till you're 59 and a half. At 72, there's required minimum distributions. So you have to use that money. Even if you don't need it, you're going to have to use it or you have penalty. The government comes in and changes the rules. Roth IRAs, they're changing the rules on those for high income earners. Real high income earners can't even put money into a Roth. Why? Because the government's not benefiting from it. Think about this. There is so much noise. Do you want to be the sheeple that just continues to listen to that? Or do you want to be the black sheep that actually says, you know what? I am done with this. I am going to look at a different avenue of what to do with my money. You guys, most of you listening, especially my blue collar workers, you are getting paid well. Yet you are putting your money into a 401k or you are a union worker and you have a pension. If you all remember my past podcasts, my husband was also part of a pension for 21 years. And guess what? The dang pension is broke because it was completely mismanaged. And what do these blue collar workers do? They just allow somebody else to take care of them. You are so busy working because you guys work your butt off and you work hard that you are exhausted. The last thing you want to worry about is money. So if you have a pension, make sure your pension is okay. Make sure your pension managers are not stealing the money. When their pension went broke, when my husband's pension went broke, we got a letter that said we did not anticipate the 08-09 crash. Well, what did you anticipate? Something going up constantly? You guys are money managers. You know it goes up and down. What in the world are you thinking? This is the stupidity of what we are led to believe. Oh, it'll come back. Oh, it's going to go down. Oh, we didn't anticipate that it's going to go down. How do you not anticipate a downturn in the market when you're a financial advisor? There are always downturns. The thing, you should be anticipating the downturn and you should anticipate a 50% or bigger loss based on history. If you are the person investing, you should be anticipating a 50% loss or better based on history. What happens if that 50% loss comes 2-3 years before retirement? What if it comes during retirement? I have family right now that is retired, and guess what? They didn't get to go on vacation this year because it's really expensive. There is now a downturn in the market. How is that going to affect their portfolio? These things are huge. Retirees are getting slammed on a daily basis with inflation at 7%, supposedly 7%. When in reality, inflation is probably 10%, but 50% based on old inflation calculators. We have an inflation of 7 to 10%, and now we have a market downturn. How do you think that is going to affect our retirees? The same retirees that I have read did not go back to work with COVID. During COVID, they did not go back to work because they didn't necessarily need the job. Are they going to all go back to work now because they have to? Guess what else is rising? The cost of Medicare. That's going up as well. And so every turn, their money is getting eaten up at a rapid pace, much faster. That was horrible English. Much faster than what it's growing at. And now it's not even growing. This is a big deal. We have to think long term. Can we use the money short term? And where is this going to get us long term? If you're putting 3% away and it's equivalent to $3,000 to $5,000 a year, really, do you think that's going to help? That's peanuts. That is not going to be enough money to retire on. It's probably not even enough money to buy something that creates cash flow. We have to think differently, and we have to get out of this noise that the market is our savior with compound interest. It is not our savior, and it is not uninterrupted compound interest. Look at the numbers. Pay attention to the guys that are whispering like me, and stop listening to the guys screaming. Unless those guys screaming are making a ton of money and knowing what to invest in, should you be there if you are not one of them? Life Without the Bank. This book has an entire chapter on market scams. It goes over fees. It goes over taxes. It goes over average rates of return versus actual rates of return. This is super, super important. If you have money in the market and you are losing money and you are not understanding, this is the book you need to read. You guys, I was there in 08 and 09. This is what led me to the infinite banking concept. I had lost 50% of my money and I was irritated as all get out. And then I found the answer that fits my personality. Conservative, uninterrupted compound interest, and liquidity of money so I can do other things. Grab the book at withoutthebank.com. You can get the Life Without the Bank book. You can also get Nelson's book. Go and do that, please, for yourself. I'm not making crap off of a $20 book. It is not about me selling a book. It is about you understanding your finances. And if you are a business owner, if you are a blue collar employee and you are making a lot of money and you are putting it into a 401k and that's what you believe the answer is, it is not the answer. Let me whisper the answer. It is the infinite banking concept. Okay, I've beat that dead horse enough. If you guys have questions, please, please, please email me. Let me know. MaryJo at withoutthebank.com. If you like the podcast, please share it. Please give it 5 stars. Apparently that helps. If you need the bundle, go to withoutthebank.com and grab Life Without the Bank and Nelson's at the same time and get your bundle. I do have them in audio. I suggest you buy the audio and the paper copy if you're going to do the audio, because a paper copy has tons and tons of numbers in it and case studies, and you're going to want to see those. It is much harder to understand it while somebody is speaking it. At least it is for me. You know, I have a very simple brain. Okay, you guys, let me know if you need anything. Otherwise, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for allowing me to rant. I appreciate it. I will talk to you guys soon.